There's so many vendors that are complementary. And at the end of the day, it's for the partners to choose.
Grow my business, reduce risk, and gain efficiencies. XDR, and of course, EDR. We also added Aptega, a launch over 1 year in the making, a GRC platform built specifically with Pax8 MSPs in mind, including integrations into a number of marketplace vendors. Another vendor launch you may or may not have heard of, Cyberfox. We're going to be joined by Adam Slutskin today, a co-founder of the company and channel legend. I'm extremely excited to be talking to Adam today. And not just because doing so will include a pretty phenomenal tour of Star Wars memorabilia, but because Cyberfox is bringing 2 solutions to market that, in my mind, open up a substantially new world for MSPs in an extremely MSP-focused way. What I'm talking about is customer experience. How can an MSP bring a solution to their customers that not only strengthens their security posture, but also improves the customer's day-to-day experience? One Cyberfox solution, Auto Elevate, is bringing a world-class privileged access management solution to MSPs. Feel free to lock down your admin privileges and never have to worry about a customer complaining about their inability to install Spotify. The other solution Cyberfox is bringing to MSPs, Password Boss. I know firsthand the struggles the channel has had to deploy password managers, but the customer experience is where this solution turns the tide. Research tells us employees spend anywhere from 26 to over 100 hours resetting passwords. This is productivity time MSPs can bring back to their customers. This is an efficiency gain for MSPs who have a majority of all help desk tickets come from password reset requests. This isn't just a security tool. This is a business tool. And I personally chuckle a bit when I send my mom a crazy 12-character password so that she can log into my Disney Plus. So let's keep making our customers better businesses. And with that, I'm thrilled to bring on our guest, Adam Slutskin. Adam, welcome to the show.
Hey, Cam. Great to be here.
Great to have you here. So, was I on it? Was I wrong? Are we bringing efficiency gains to partners? What are we doing here with Cyberfox?
I think a little, yeah. No, I think it's a little bit more than that, and definitely, just going back to the intro, I'm certainly a self-admitting nerd. So behind me is not a fake backdrop; it's my office. Right? We all spend so much time at work. It's our home away from home, and so for me, I've always been a memorabilia and Star Wars nerd. So if you can see some of it, there it all is. If you are a nerd as well, we always seem to find each other. Hit me up on LinkedIn, and we can swap pictures of all the goofy stuff that we all collect and own.
You have a favorite?
I don't. Well, from a movie, right? So this is always a long-standing argument with Star Wars fans. Like which was the best movie? Most of us would say Rogue One. Anybody differs, certainly drop a note. But it was just so good. It was so unexpectedly good, and just so well made. You can never go wrong when on the shows like Mandalorian. But again, look, it's about having fun. And I think it is right in line what we do as a community. Speaking directly about the MSP channel, it's just who we are. We're just a bunch of people that like tech, that understand. I think those lighter things. The majority of us grew up gaming. and just doing all these things or playing Dungeons and Dragons, we could keep going. And then we just, have that natural affinity to be around technology. And it's just awesome. And yeah, we can talk a little bit about certainly Cyberfox. I always love talking about what we're doing here. Always love talking about the channel. I've been in it 20 years. I've watched the evolution from when I was employee like 50 at Kaseya, and then I was like employee 60 at ConnectWise, and just helping to grow some great companies like Lion Guard, and then of course being a channel chief with companies like Ninja and Mail Protector, Lumu. It's just so much fun, and I feel so blessed to be a part of it.
Yeah, I was getting ready for the show and I was trying to look up your credits here, but they were a little too long and might have taken up the whole show. But on
That's what happens when you get
Cyberfox,
old, Cam. Yeah, that's when you get old, man. Yeah.
all right, I
I'm
won't hold my
58.
breath.
Not too old, but 58. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Cyberfox. What's the origin story of the company? Because I've heard some pretty impressive things.
Yeah, so it's just really interesting. I have done a lot of advising for different early stage companies in the space and investing. And while I was at Lion Guard, and for those of you who have Lion Guard, my deep love and connections with Lion Guard will never end. And about 3 years in, I've always been an operator, and never the owner. And Dave Bellini, Hall of Famer, right? He and Arnie, so critical to the beginning of this whole thing. And I had reached out to Dave. One of the very early stage companies I had helped a bit was this company called Password Boss. And they had reached out to me and said, "Hey, I think I've taken as far as I can. I need an exit." So I called Dave Bellini and I said, "Hey, Dave, why don't we do one last one together? Because we just love working together. And to give us a chance to work with our sons." I had worked with my dad. My dad had worked with his dad, and then another generation before that. So we decided to do it, and always very upfront with Lion Guard and Joe Alpat and all those guys who I love at Lion Guard. And so we did. Then about, I don't know, a year after that, I had helped launch as an advisor and early investor, Auto Elevate, and they had come to me and said the same thing. Now we own Password Boss, and I called Dave and I said, "Dave, we're going to buy Auto Elevate. Let's just build a great cybersecurity company." So it started as we didn't know where we were going to begin. Then we were blessed to do a good search for a good name, and the name that we use today, Cyberfox, was being squatted on by someone that had no intention of using it. We were about to give up. Our name was going to be Cybervault. We really hated the name. We thought it was boring. We gave it one last shot, reached out to the person who was squatting on it, made him an offer they couldn't refuse, and the name Cyberfox was born, which allows us to unify under the one brand, very much like what we did at ConnectWise, right? We were ConnectWise. We bought what was then LabTech, now Automate, Quozel, Screen Connect, and then we were able to put all of these things under the ConnectWise, kind of logo. And that's where we're at. We do have a couple more additional natively created products that we'll be launching, and all are very related. We live in this mantra of we want to keep it simple. We don't need to introduce more complexity. We believe we do that with our solutions, and that do deliver high ROI, and then at a low cost, which has always been something myself, and I know the Bellinis, we always knew we didn't have to be the overpriced vendor. We always felt that we could charge a fair price, but understanding the channel who also needs to manage their costs. And that's really where I learned that, because before that, I've really been an enterprise. And, I really appreciate that we're able to do that, to deliver good products that are not that complex and that don't break the wallet, and allow the MSP, to be able to, maintain that profitability with all of the different things that they have to do for their clients.
Yeah, and you referenced some legendary companies there, and I'd love to dig in on Cyberfox a little deeper. But as part of those companies, I'd love to know how's the culture at Cyberfox? How does that compare to some of these other companies that you were talking about that you've been a part of?
I've been blessed. I mean, each one I feel like I've been able to say at that point was the best one, and I don't mean that in that BS way. I don't. Each one, the cultures were very different. the unifying thing was this bond and closeness. Nobody ever wanted to leave. You know, we created a culture where you felt valued. I mean, even the current CEO of ConnectWise, you know, I had hired him in 2012, 2013. A lot of us had started at an enterprise company at CA, and a lot of us had started to migrate into the channel. And I use it as an example of, you know, how we've been able to grow so many people from ConnectWise. For one example, you look at Callan Sapien, I'm going to drop a few names, who's at MSP Bots. I remember when I hired him as a BDR, he had been selling beds. Look at him now. He's one of the really brilliant rising stars in the space. I could keep going on. And I'm just so proud of that. And as you've seen everybody grow from within, you know, that community, the ConnectWise community, and it branched out into so many companies, including Pax8, guys like John
Right.
Fry. There it is, John, shout out. But John we started at CA, you know, came over early with me at ConnectWise, you know, and then look now, you know, and the great work he's doing with Pax8. And then, of course, you know, but a culture that was very different than Lion Guard, you know, for example, where, you know, we were 100% remote versus 100% in the office. Same thing. We built as good as a culture as you could imagine being 100% remote and spread out. And we had to find different ways to reinforce that. And we definitely did. Flash forward to Cyberfox, it's, you know, it's partly me being older and the gap getting bigger. But, you know, if I threw out like, hey, where's our average age of, you know, our colleagues, 22 to 25. And it's amazing. And we have found the most brilliant young people that are, you know, came from a lot of the local colleges like University of Tampa, which has just been incredible, University of South Florida, Florida Southern. And we've built a team of young people. And I mean this from the heart. They're just brilliant. At their age, I'm a 22-year military vet. I look at myself when I was their age, and you know, I don't know, you know, I was just trying to figure out how to turn the TV on. And I look at them now, and they're able to have conversations on complex project, you know, complex solutions and technologies to the point where we don't even need sales engineers. We don't use them for the most part. We have a couple, but they do very high level stuff. And I'm just really proud. Each culture was amazing, Cam, but very different. And it's hard to compare each one exactly.
And and I think regardless, it's visceral. You can feel it. You can feel it by working with the company. We feel it at Pax8 as being a partner of Cyberfox. We feel it when we talk to our MSP partners, you know, who have been a part of the Cyberfox and Pax8 ecosystem, and it feeds well into, you know, anytime you have those in person, you know, folks or those in person events, which I know you guys are hosting some of those local to Cyberfox today. So tell me about those events. What's going on there? What are you guys doing with those hosted events? What are we bringing to MSPs?
Yeah, and I think it's really cool. It kind of, if you think about it, so many of the MSPs have been, you know, lucky enough to attend an exchange show, which is always, you know, just a great show I've always enjoyed personally. And it's very similar, right? If everyone knows how that works, you know, they kind of pay the way of the guest, and then obviously it's on the vendors to, you know, to cover the cost. And so starting at about, I don't know, 2012 at ConnectWise, we had started, I think it was even before Exchange really was going, we would bring in hundreds of hosted guests. We paid for everything, all the room and board flights to come into IT Nation. And then, of course, Automation Nation, for those who remember Automation Nation, in the mid year, right? That was based around what, you know, is LabTech, now Automate. And it was just a great experience, took down the barriers of having to worry about cost. We did all the logistics. So flash forward, you know, Dave and I were talking about it, Dave Bellini, you know, beginning of last year. And I'm like, man, we got to reboot that. It was such a good experience. And we're doing it a little differently, whereas it all used to be about ConnectWise being like the sole sponsor. And now what we do is we generally like Pax8's been a part of a couple of them, and it's awesome. And we, you know, generally have 4 or 5 vendors, very small, and we bring in 50 MSPs. We have to cap it there just so it gets too big, and then it's might as well call it a show. And we bring in 50 MSPs. We get to spend a lot of focus time, provide some really good content. People like Matt Lee have been here from Pax8. Obviously,
Shout out.
guys like Wes, yeah, yeah, and Jason Slagles. So the CEO of the CIS Critical Controls, and we always really focus on making sure we provide a lot of great content. But let's face it, our community loves spending time together, and it's just so cool. And everybody comes away having learned something. What a great experience, and getting to know some of the vendors without really that high push. Look, man, when we're all at shows, everybody's spending a ton of money and everybody has to move fast and everybody needs to come away with ROI. Here, when we do it, it's super chill. Anyone that may even be on this show that has attended a one of our events, it's just super cool, low stress, and just a great way to get to all hang out and know each other.
That's awesome. I love that you guys are taking like a little bit of a different approach than the events that are out there, because it does have that unique experience. And like you say, those MSPs together, there's a lot of learnings to come out of that.
And it's hard, like the difference is like if you think of like a boardroom at Exchange where it's 10 MSPs in a room with a vendor and you're really trying to move fast, in about 30 minutes and try to educate people a little bit on what you're solving for. Certainly, provide some thought leadership, but then also like build a relationship. And so this works, and the feedback we continue to get is tremendous. We know it's working because we already have waiting lists for the next one, not only from attendees, but from vendors that want to do this. And what's really cool is we're able to teach other vendors to do it, like you guys. Right after the first one you guys came to, Pax8, the team that was here said, "This is cool. We're going to bring it back to Pax8. We should do it." I was blown away. You guys put it together in a few weeks, had 100 people attend out in Denver. We were lucky enough for you guys to invite us to be part of yours. And I just want to let you guys know you guys killed it in the being that first one, and the overall experience was fantastic.
Well, thank you. Glad to hear it. And I think we could talk community this entire time, but you're here today. You're representing Cyberfox, and we're talking about Pam. Sorry, I had to. But why is
That's
Pam
okay.
important?
So here's the deal, right? And I wish I could tell you that, oh man, we knew, and you read the tea leaves and what's going to evolve into things that are very important, critical to solve for. And I wish I could tell everybody that. I would be lying. So sometimes it's good to be in the right place at the right time. Some say I've been pretty lucky there, and I'll take that now. And so when you really think about where we are from a security, threat level, there are certain basic things that we're all being asked for to solve to reduce our exposure to bad actors. Bad actors are good. Some might even hear this, and they're very good. And then the reality is, not one of us can solve for everything, but we can certainly put in those layers to make it more challenging. And at the bare essence, our two flagship products that are aware today, Auto Elevate, which has three basic components now. You can have just the elevation piece, right? And that allows you to kind of restrict those admin privileges, like you said in the beginning, control them in a very efficient way. We feel really strongly, and from the feedback we've got, we say this humbly, that our elevation component is best in class. And we really would ask, hey, test me on that. Certainly take a look and then tell me if I've got that wrong. But that allows you really to simplify how to do that without being overly intrusive to your clients. Because one of the big MSP fears, I've done a lot of one-on-one time over the last 20 years with MSPs, and there's always that underlying fear of, am I getting too intrusive to my client? They'll get mad, they'll fire me. Very similar, because there's this whole thing I wish we could talk about in regards to pricing and packaging and stuff. I've been able to help MSPs there. The fear of raising prices. I'm going to do a little plug there real quick on thought leadership. MSP friends, you are the thought leaderships. When you generally raise prices, your clients don't ever threaten you to leave. They usually go, "I'm surprised you didn't ask to do this sooner." So just a little high level, certainly hit me up if you guys want to talk about this more in depth on one-on-one or whatever. But, so I think it's the same way. Then the second component is, what we refer to as just-in-time admin. That allows for, that after-hour engineer needs to get in from an admin perspective, and you can do that, without a password. Very seamless, makes it simple. And then the third one, which we just released, there's these two things that you'll hear out there, allow listing, some, old school would call it whitelisting, and then, blacklisting, which is really now referred to as block listing. We decided as we were developing the product to go down the block listing path. We did that after working with a lot of the big MSPs as part of our advisory council, help steer the direction of our company and what we're going to actually focus on. And we just feel it's a much simpler way versus, the allow listing, which is great tech. The challenge is, the general assumption is for about 80% of certainly the MSP ecosystem, it's complex, it's kind of time consuming, requires some dedicated, human capital. Whereas we believe with the block listing, it's a bit simpler. And again, going back to our mantra, try to keep it simple, try to provide fast ROI, and then at a low cost. So that's kind of the core product. Then, of course, everyone's familiar with a password manager. We have Password Boss. For the last 2 years after that acquisition I told you about, we decided, Dave Lane and I weren't happy. So we've spent millions of dollars and the last couple of years basically almost redeveloping and architecting a new password manager, which it's now going to be web-based and have multiple additional features and enhancements than the current Password Boss. Now, that one is not currently available through Pax8. It's going to be launching very soon here. I don't know the exact date. We'll call it within the next couple months. So that'll be available from Pax8. And of course, Auto Elevate is currently, available through Pax8. And we always encourage all of our friends and partners in the channel. Hey, man, if you're a Pax8 partner, absolutely work with the Pax8 team, and they can load you up with our products. We love our partnership with Pax8. I'm not paid to say that. No one coached me to say that. I've been working with Pax8 and guys like Ryan Walsh and Ryan Burton, since the early days, and just really respect what's been built. And every company I've worked with, ultimately, we work with Pax8 to get into the marketplace.
Well, those are kind words. And I always say, Pax8 is a little bit of a bullhorn for our vendors. And we're really just kind of amplifying all the great work that you guys are doing. So all that great enablement content, all of that great collateral, the customer facing stuff, those are all things that we've just, really packaged up within our marketplace, the stuff that Cyberfox has done so well, and we're bringing that to our partners in that consolidated way. And great to hear too about Password Boss, because I can only imagine that having that leadership, from you and David, to go and re-architect that product is only going to then produce something that is so well focused and well enabled for MSPs to be successful, right? Like you mentioned right away, the web-based, right? Making things easier to access. So that's just really, really exciting to hear.
Multi-tenant and
Of course.
with this concept of shares, built in. So, look, there's a lot of great password management tools that are out there, but really not necessarily designed with the MSP in mind. And so we think that's what we've accomplished. I'm very excited to get the feedback as we go live. It's in beta with, many MSPs right now. So far, the feedback has been good, but ultimately the community will let us know. And but we feel pretty good. We do have a couple others that have been natively created that will be launching and then ultimately available through Pax8. One is like a DNS filter umbrella product, and then just keeping it high level to make sure. So keep an eye out for that. And then security awareness, phishing simulation solution. And what we're really trying to do there, because there's another key thing to kind of mention, the tools that we have really align to cyber insurance. So a lot of times when we get phone calls, right, it's specifically around like, look, hey, I need to talk to you guys. I'm being directed by my cyber insurance provider that I have to provide some of these types of solutions for one, to either qualify to get cyber insurance, or two, to get most favorable rates. And nobody knows exactly, I think where, the whole cyber insurance regulation and everything's going to go. But we are starting to see, and we've talked about this a lot, MSPs do need to take a look at their clients' cyber insurance policies, because in a lot of them, what we've seen is the fine print, not just our stuff, but like, some of the other important solutions. If you don't have these things in place, they reserve the right to null and void the cyber insurance agreement. So, and that is real. We just encourage everybody, take a look at your client's policies, see if you see that there. And then obviously, you are the trusted advisor. The other thing we always hear is, as I mentioned with the pricing, geez, Adam, I'm afraid if I, tell them to do this isn't all of you, Fuvial, they're going to leave me. And I'm like, you guys are the trusted advisor. You don't need to ask to put not just mine or even my competitors. These are solutions that you guys need, whether it's mine or somebody else's, and that y'all are the trusted advisor. And don't ask, you got to tell them, right? That's just the way
Yeah.
it is.
And regardless, of a person's perception, the data shows that MSPs are world class at customer retention. It's just a fact of the matter.
And it is, and it's not about cost. Our price, like, when you think of the prevailing prices that, the majority of MSPs are charging, especially now, where the majority are now in more user-based, when you really look at it, the cost that we as a channel are charging, these end clients, it's ridiculously reasonable and saves them a ton of money, as it is a fraction of the cost if they had to manage these things internally with internal IT staff, because you don't need just one. They need to retain at least two for when that one person is sick or on vacation, and all these, you could then go into after hours and, all these other things. But, the reality is, we are the trusted advisors for, and by the way, not only SMB now, I mean, how about mid-market? Just about every MSP that, that I know, not only is, focused on SMB, but certainly well penetrated into mid-market. And how about that? A lot are now into enterprise. And I think it's amazing. And I think the journey that I've been able to be a part of for the last 20, I'm just blown away by, how meaningful we've become to the channel. I mean, a couple of reference points for me, Rob Ray and guys like Dan Wensley, they were here before I got here. Irvish, shout out to you. I was able to come in around 2008. But even then, at Kaseya, we had, I don't know, 1,200 customers, MSPs. Was about the same at ConnectWise. Today, both of them each have over 30, 35,000. And Pax8 has how many? I think you guys are now over 30,000.
You're right.
These
You
are
are right.
amazing numbers. Blow me away.
Well, Adam, I mean, this is such great information, and I really appreciate kind of the current state of things, but I can't let you go without asking where we're going. What's next here? What do you see in terms of M&A? What do you see in terms of regulation, certification needs, that sort of thing? Give us your take.
Yeah, and I'll do the high level. I definitely see more certification coming in. The regulation conversation has been kicking around for a while. I know that if, when I talk to a lot of my friends, I think the well-established MSPs would say, not opposed to regulating how you can classify yourself as an MSP, because today there really is no blockers. The five of us, I'm looking at my screen, we decide to be an MSP. We could put out an ad, we are an MSP, right? And don't necessarily know if that's a good thing. On the M&A front, I do not see that slowing down right now. I think we'll continue to see a fairly steady stream of M&A, which, by the way, I think is an amazing thing, because back in the day, it was, how was an MSP going to monetize? And I think it's awesome that today they have that path to monetize and realize the gains, from what they've put their sweat and tears into. So I think that's it. I think we're going to see a tremendous impact by AI. I think it's going to be very interesting, scary, exciting, everything at once. We all have this fear. We all going to be replaced. I don't know what the answer is, but I can tell you that that genie is out of the bottle. And I think we all already know this. It's not going away. And it's just, where is it going to go? So I think that's extremely interesting. And I'm glad I get to see that in my lifetime.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're spot on, and I always say myself, we've got like a pretty open field outside the Pax8 offices, and go out there and try drilling for oil and see what happens. But data is worth more than oil these days, so go ahead and plug a USB into any customer server, and no one has anything to say about it. So it's
Guys like me
it's
used
a
to watch a
strange world.
cartoon. Yeah, we guys like my age, we used to watch cartoons like the Jetsons, and it's just incredible seeing, the fiction become fact. I mean, come on, if we had said when I was a kid that you would have self, driving autonomous cars, who would believe that? And it's happening. You know, we also thought everything would be a moving sidewalk. That one didn't happen. Flying cars have not fully happened yet, but, you know, but I think, now the fact that we can talk about going into Mars and everything, it's just mind blowing where it's all going. But again, bring that back to the MSP. And here's my kind of thoughts on that. We're needed more than ever in the channel, because when I even think about my time in enterprise and mid market, those teams can't scale and be the experts around cybersecurity in particular that we as a channel can, and as an MSP, they just can't. And the way that we can go ahead and source, and I'm talking from an MSP perspective, the best tools to leverage and utilize, to manage, these internal IT clients, whether a law firm, a bank, whatever. And it's just, I get asked a lot from like the investment side and the PE guys, what's your view? And I'm like, I still think we're in the early stages. We're maturing, but we are a necessity. You know, we are a necessity, whether we are not providing fully managed, right, services, and we're providing all those other, whether it's after hours and all those other things. And I just don't see that going away.
Words of encouragement from the very, very best. Adam, thank you so much for joining. I can't thank you enough. I really do appreciate it. We are at time. So, again, I'm going to have you back. But if there's
Yeah,
anything
thanks a
else,
lot, guys.
yeah,
I was just going to say thanks for having me. And of course, I'm the only Slutskin, I think, on LinkedIn besides my brother. So anybody that grew up watching Blues Clues or has kids that watch Blues Clues, that's my brother. I'm the other Slutskin. And it doesn't mean the cows are dying or anything weird, but hit me up on LinkedIn if I can ever be a help.
all right. Fun fact right there. Again, thank you so much. We are at time. That's it for Technically Unraveled. If there's anything you want to see from the show, let us know in the comments. We'll see you next week. Kristen's going to be talking with Britton Tremblay Breton about Copilot. Join us next week, YouTube, Thursdays at 2 p.m. Mountain.